Being a good professional doesn't mean that you are a good business owner. You will not always be motivated. It's important to have the discipline to stay on track.
Hello and welcome to the show called Invest Qatar, where we dwell into the world of finance, investment, businesses and making good money. Well, today we have with us Mr. Mohamed Shabeeb. Mr. Shabeeb, he is the founder and the CEO of the Chief Enrichment Office of Zenex. He is also the National Director of BNI and also the Director of Action Coach for GCC. We can say that he is a distinguished speaker, visionary leader, an entrepreneur and also a mentor. We would love to welcome him on FM 107. How are you doing?
I'm well, Nazia. Thank you for having me here. I have come here to talk about a topic that's very dear to my heart. Thank you for choosing me. And I'm sure that we'll be able to give a lot of information to the audience today.
Really looking forward for this. Okay, tell me, what are the key factors that actually are driving the growth of startups in Qatar's e-commerce sector?
The growth of startups in Qatar's e-commerce sector is that licensing in Qatar is pretty easy. Though there are certain challenges when it comes to, as I said, different segments. But the best thing that has happened to Qatar startups is the Web Summit. Because in Web Summit, what has happened is Qatar has been driving this focus for people to start up businesses easily. And I have to say kudos to Qatar Financial Center, especially because whoever attends the Web Summit gets a 5-year rebate on the tax. I mean, on the registration fee, on the licensing fees. There's only a registration fee that you need to pay, and there's no taxation for 5 years. So basically, the kind of entry point that you're getting is that you're saving almost, I would say, to the whereabouts of at least $36,000 over a period of 5 years, if you really look at it. So the entry has been made very easy. The thing that also has to come in that you have to consider is with Qatar Development Bank running a lot of hackathons, with Qatar Business Incubation Center running a lot of LEAP programs, with Ministry of Telecom and Communication also running a lot of enablement exercises for businesses to become digitized. All of this makes it very easy, and I think I mentioned this earlier also when we spoke earlier on another topic with QRDI, Qatar Research and Development Institute. They have come out with such novel programs where the government entities put on the challenges they are facing on a website, and you can go there and submit your ideas. And if your ideas qualify, you will be given entry into a program, into a product development program, which is free of cost. And then it's a 5-day program, fully funded by QRDI. And once your idea means you come up with a minimum viable product, and you submit it to QRDI as a solution for the government department that has raised a request, you might actually get funded by the government to develop that product and give it as a service to the government.
How has the COVID pandemic actually influenced the consumer's behavior and the demand of e-commerce solutions in Qatar?
This is a complex question to be answered, because on different verticals, it's created different kinds of success stories, as well as there has been failures also. One of the things that took off was online grocery, right? There was a lot of ideas that came out, a lot of platforms that came out, but was not able to scale because the go-to-market execution was not right. The thing here is just having the idea is not enough. Many founders, they are not technical people. They just have the idea. Then there's a CTO, there's a technical guy who comes in and then does the implementation. And many a time what happens is the startup people, they're not very experienced in developing very large softwares, which has created challenges, because the people who has invested properly in the technology in the initial stage with a going into a scale-up mode already planned, I've seen they're more successful. Many people don't understand costing. Many a time I've seen startup people, even seasoned businessmen, when they come in front of me, I ask them what is the difference between a markup and a margin. They don't really understand. Many people, they just add 40% onto the cost, 40% of the cost to the cost, and do a lot of revenue and think they have 40% profit in them. They don't have 40%. It's actually 28.57%. A 40% markup gives you a 28.57% margin. So imagine somebody who does $1 million in turnover. And they are thinking they have 400,000 riyals because they put 40% on the cost. And this is a basic mistake that 99% of the business owners I have had a chat with make in their head, you know.
This is what you train them about? You try to differentiate these things?
Yeah, because that's what we talk about. Being a good professional doesn't mean that you are a good business owner.
What are some challenges, or what are the regulations, you know, when anybody starts a business, they face that while entering into the e-commerce market?
Yeah. So e-commerce market, many people think that you don't need any licenses, which is completely untrue. It is a highly regulated industry. If you are caught selling online without licenses, there are heavy fines, can even lead to imprisonment. Got it. So you need to license your activity properly. If you go to MOCA, so all kinds of trading activities come under MOCA, okay, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, and they have a single window system nowadays. It's very easy to register yourself. If it's a very small micro business where you are making cakes out of the home, or you're doing something like handicrafts and so on.
For that also they need the license, right?
Yes. But then for that you don't need to have a facility. You can do it out of your home. There's something called the home business license. Yeah, home-based business license, and you can do that.
Okay, tell me, how is Qatar government actually supporting and promoting the entrepreneurship and the innovations in the local market?
So there are a lot of things that has happened right now. You know, for example, the fund of funds, the 1 billion fund that has come out of Qatar into developing fintech. There's a lot of large business groups that is investing heavily into fintech solutions. And other online platforms. There is also a drive for getting entrepreneurship into place. Now, so we spoke about what people will save, right? So it's about time, but there is also something that people will spend for, which is experience. Experience, right? So why would we go all the way to a cafe or a restaurant? Not order on any of the food apps, but drive all the way, spend time there to get the experience. Right? So many of the F&B startups that come in is more than the food, they're selling the experience. Got it? But many people don't get it right. They're passionate about food and beverages, but they are not able to get the business into a profitable model. So now what I have seen is Qatar government is making it much more easier to set up a business because there's a lot of initiatives. But on top of that, what I'm also seeing is there's a push for many of the global brands, up and coming brands, to also franchise in Qatar. I'm seeing a lot of brands that can be franchised out of Qatar also.
Okay, Mr. Shabeeb, tell me, what are some of the most common mistakes made by the startups?
Thinking that the idea alone is enough.
This is the first.
That's the first mistake. The idea alone is not enough. You need to have the right team. You know, I have had startup teams come to me and speak about personal challenges. The right culture is a big important thing, because most of the time people get excited by the idea, but they do not see whether the team that is coming together has the right value system. So if both of us are great people, both of us want the same end result, but you know where arguments arise in a startup team or in any business group, it comes when the how is debated. The why is clear, the what is also clear, but the how. So how are we going to do this? I will have some ideas, you will have some ideas. Why the friction comes in? Because my how is defined based on the value system I have. Because value systems define behavior. Behaviors define the how, which defines the results. Got it? So the way I want to behave and create my how might not be matching with how you are thinking about it.
Right.
So the first thing is making sure that your team is aligned on the value system as much as possible. If not, have a coach come in and coach on creating the company values and seeing there is alignment. Second thing is never have equal shares. Never.
Why?
There should be one person who is the decision maker in any business. One person who has the majority share and is the ultimate decision maker, is the leader. Has to be defined in that way. Wherever I have seen challenges is where everybody has an equal voice.
Okay, tell me, what is the role of technology in the success of these startups?
Very big, but because as I told you, when you, for example, when you go into a fashion startup, most of the time nowadays Shopify is enough. Right, but then the percentages that they start taking becomes bigger at a certain stage, which also becomes a challenge for you. So you have to understand that what is your financial strategy. Because when you talk about technology, it's about what funds you have to invest now. Got it. And what is if need be, you need to have a change of platform. How are you going to fund that? Got it. So it's a very complex question, but understanding that right now there is so many AI tools that is available is also something that is important.
What is the role of localization? How important it is for a business person to understand the local language, the culture, etc.?
Very much, because especially in countries like in the GCC, you need multilingual. You know, I would actually go beyond saying that you can't just have English and Arabic. You need to also look at the larger communities that is there. You know, for example, the Indian community in Qatar has 800,000 people. The Filipino community has 800,000 people. So if you are not implementing Tagalog or some of the larger Indian languages, you might be creating challenges. So if you are looking at localization, and if your product is tailored towards a specific community, you need to go to localization for the community that you're in. It's not the market that you're in.
Which marketing strategy have been proven the most effective for new startups?
This is a tough question because there are so many marketing strategies out there. You know, one of the best marketing strategies is public relations. Again, if you're going for products like what I said earlier, right? Understanding the profile of your client and fine-tuning your online marketing strategy as well as your offline. For example, if you're targeting Qatari audience in Qatar, I would avoid marketing on Insta and Facebook. The platform I'll choose is Snapchat.
And why?
Because if you really look at the adoption of Snapchat with the Qatari population in Qatar, it's huge. I would say 90% of their social media interactions is on Snapchat.
Okay, Shabeeb, tell me, what is that one mantra for a successful business?
You know, it's a good question. Because I need to find an answer that fits all sizes, right? So just today morning, I was having a meeting with some of the top leaders who we work with in BNI, business owners, and one of the quotes that we shared is, you will not always be motivated. It's important to have the discipline to stay on track. Got it? So in business, there are going to be rough days that you will not wish on your worst enemies. What's your wildly important goal? What are the lead measures that will make this goal happen? So lead measures means what actions that you take will make this goal happen. What is your compelling scorecard for these lead measures? How are you keeping track whether your team and yourself are doing these actions? And then what is the cadence of accountability? How often are you going to hold people accountable for this? Is it on a daily basis, weekly basis, fortnightly or monthly or quarterly? So strategy, execution with the right discipline is what is going to make sure your business is going to go ahead.
Wow, thank you so much, and I understand that discipline is the key to success. Well, with this, thank you so much for taking out this time and talking to us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.